Hello and good morning. I'm Michael Cups, your host of The Habit Architect. Welcome to this topic. It's going to be a great session today with our guest who's going to help us with financial wellness. And when we think about that, I want to kind of talk to you a little bit less about the being a host and me being a human. As you might be able to tell from my hair, looking at my hair, I've seen a few seasons in this lifetime. I've seen the good and the bad, and what happens when you come out of college, and then when you have kids, and these milestones that occur during life. And so I've put a roof over our head. I've wanted to pay for vacations, accidents, sicknesses, things like that. All comes up in life, and it's something you don't anticipate because when you're in your 20s and you're getting out of college, and let's just go back from my time. I remember sitting in an office in Dallas because I'd left Texas Tech. I graduated and was offered a job, and I'm sitting in a room, and there's an HR person walking us through all these deductions that might be occurring on our paycheck. And certainly insurance and stuff like that made sense. And then there was this thing called a 401k. And I remember distinctly because no one ever told me what a 401k was until I heard those words. And unfortunately, at the time, what I heard her say was it was a pre-tax deduction that comes out of your check and you don't get to take that home. And most 20-year-olds are more worried about the take-home pay to do things that they want to do and play and stuff like that. Over the years, I've learned the value of what that actual 401k is and can be, and what it means if your employer's contributing and things like that. So all those things I did catch up and all, but it's an interesting thing because I think I was not unlike a lot of people when you got out of college, or if you got out of the service and you went in your first job. There's a lot of unknowns, and planning ahead is sometimes the least thing we're thinking about, and particularly with financial wellness. And so, in this day and age, in America in particular, we're living in a dopamine nation. And what does that mean? We want immediate gratification. So we got to start asking ourselves, how do we balance that? So, there are people that would rather scroll on their phone than take a walk in the park. There are people that are at a highest rate ever addicted to gambling or day trading. And there's now addiction to food or addiction to shopping and things like that have occurred all because of this dopamine rush. So the questions that we have to ask ourselves is, how do we balance chasing a dream to supporting your family when you have these balancing acts that we have to do? How do you balance today? What actions are you taking today that are going to ensure tomorrow? And how do you learn what the best habits are there? And then most importantly, I think this happens to everybody. What happens when your purpose collides with pressure? So you have a car accident, or somebody buys the company you work for and you have an uncertain future. How do you deal with this kind of pressure and these priorities? How do you keep it on track? Well, so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk to Brent Hines, who's going to join us today. He's an expert in the behavioral side of money, to help you figure it out, to help you think about ahead. Think about what's in front of you, not just what's happening today. So Brent is joining us. He's a TEDx speaker, and he also founded the Foundation for Financial Wellness. And he's somebody that just understands the behavioral side of money. And so, Brent, it's really good to see you. Thank you for joining us today. I know you're a little under the weather, so we really appreciate your participation. So nice to see you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the story behind Foundation for Financial Wellness and Brent Hines?
I appreciate it. Thanks for the invite on. Yeah, I apologize for my voice. I've got my finger on the mute button here as I am. I think I'm on the backside of this head cold, so bad timing from that perspective. So I'll try not to drive everybody too crazy.
You sound good.
In a prior life, I was in the wealth management business. I kind of joke that I'm a recovering financial advisor. I'm now 16 years clean, 17 years clean as of this summer. Absolutely tripped into this industry that we now call financial wellness. It was not an industry back in 2008. I come from a pretty, financially speaking, I grew up very poor, single mom, had great parents. They just weren't great together kind of people. And mom and I left, and I'm from Texas originally, in the Houston area. And mom and I got in the old, beat up car and barely made it to her sister and brother-in-law's house in a little town south of Denver, Colorado, back in 1985. And it was the best day of my life, quite honestly. And I never left. So I watched my mom struggle, like I'm sure many people do, and then anyone that's watching today, where there was more month than there was paycheck. And at 10 years old, people don't write checks anymore for the most part, but at 10 years old, like I knew how to float a check, Michael. That's
Yeah.
that's probably
Yeah.
not a good skill set to learn. But if you
Yeah.
needed a day or two, you could write the check, and then it would be the money would be there before the check cleared, kind of thing. So I knew
Yeah.
I wanted out. I watched my mom struggle and stress, and she was a mama bear. She would give
Yeah.
me anything that she thought that I needed or wanted, and would make bad financial decisions doing so. So I wanted out. Of that socioeconomic environment. I really doubt at the time I would have referred to it as socioeconomic
Yeah.
environment, but
Yeah.
that's what it was. And
Yeah.
first person in my immediate family to go to college. I worked my way in, found the student aid office and went in there a lot, and they kept giving me what seemed to be free money.
Yeah.
And I worked my way. I go, hey, what's the fastest way out of here? Well, I want to go into the business school. And it was harder to get into. Like, well, see if I can get into the business school. Then I'm like, well, what majors are in the business school? And I'm like, finance. That seems to be the one everyone's like. I'm going to get the finance degree, and I really had no idea why I was doing it, other than, well, that's what I think wealthy people must be doing, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I graduated from college with a degree in finance and a minor in economics. I could have discussed, in-depth, trading strategy, weapons grade plutonium futures contracts, but
Yeah.
I had student loans and a truck payment.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
What are we doing here? Right.
Yeah.
So I fortunately went to work for a company that did not allow. I wanted to be a financial advisor. They did not allow. It was just an internal control mechanism that they put in place. You could not interface with a client and give advice if you had personal consumer debt.
Oh, wow.
They would allow a mortgage if it was low interest and tax deductible. That was the criteria. Any other debt, you cannot interface with clients until that debt is gone.
Wow.
So it was. I feel like I got put through the meat grinder, but I did it, and it's amazing what you'll do if there's enough passion. And later we realize the emotion, get the emotional brain involved. And if it becomes important enough for you, you will find a way to do it. You will buy a bus pass. You will sell that beautiful truck that you had a truck payment on.
Yeah.
And when you sell the truck, you had to go to the table with money to get rid of it. Right.
Yeah.
Like this is like not fun. Student
Yeah.
loan stuff. Right. I have buddies sending like joking, playing the wheels on the bus go round and round. Like they're driving leased, BMWs, and I'm struggling. So that's where this came from. And the financial services industry as a whole was full of 90+% male.
Yeah.
They all looked alike. They all sounded alike. They all wanted the same thing. They needed money in motion, meaning assets under management that were rolling out of a 401k or from another advisor. If a family or individual needed life insurance, they were going to look for that, because that's something that was needed. That was a way in, so you picked that. In those days, you literally on the desk, you picked up the phone and you dialed and you dialed and you dialed, and you called everyone and burned every good relationship that you or your parents had built.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was, believe it or not, that's not what I wanted. So that was the genesis of this. I began teaching. I loved being in front of a room and changing ideas, changing opinions, changing thinking, changing belief systems about money, because I sure had from my upbringing. And I'm like, God, I wish I could do this instead of, and this isn't a joke, managing money for unappreciative rich white guys.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, rich white guys. It wasn't that rewarding, come to find out, and answering for a market I didn't control. So that's where all this came from. I don't know if that resonates with anyone out there or not.
Yep.
Like that the industry is built for that. You're chasing assets, or you're looking for insurance needs, or you're looking for a planning need. And if you don't have that, like my mom was not a prospect for anyone. So where was she going to get? Where was she going to get something like this? So that was the genesis. That was a long answer to your very first question. You're probably
no, I don't. I think the context is very good, and it's interesting because I was going to ask you, and I want to rethink the question. I was going to ask you about, a lot of young people today feel really hopeless, right? Because of what you just described, student loan debt or or things like that. But I also think it's that dopamine pressure too, because they watch TikTok and there's some influencer telling them, go live your best life, go travel, do all that stuff. And so they've got these reality versus kind of the fantasy. And I was going to say they have it worse than any generation, but I don't know. You and I both had to figure out a way. You know, when I needed a new car, I didn't have a choice of going home and asking somebody else for a new car, right? I had to figure it out. Or like you said, get on a bus, do something to make it work. And so I'm not saying we're better off than them or worse off than them. I think it's just let's take young people in general. They're faced with a lot of pressure. So how, what is your single advice, or maybe it's not one piece of advice, for those young people that just feel overwhelmed and they don't know where to go, where to start?
Well, I have a 23-year-old who is pre-med, trying to graduate his undergrad while studying for the MCAT. And I've got a 20-year-old who's a junior, and she's in the business school. And I hear what they come home with, and like the questions they ask, or the opinions that they have, or the stress that they have. And sometimes I feel like, God, am I failing? How do you not? I do this for a living. Like you through osmosis, you should have known that, right? And no, that's not the case, right? Yeah. So we teach a model. The human brain typically, generally speaking, the human brain prefers modeling, a framework, versus obscurity, right? So years ago, we created a model called the financial operating system, FOS. And inside of that financial operating system, as we kept boiling down, it's kind of like when someone comes to a class or a counseling session here at the foundation. The problem they bring to the table is rarely the real problem.
Right.
So getting below the surface enough, you almost have to go at least like 3 layers deep to get anywhere close to the core issue. Like, what is it? What's the problem we're really trying to solve versus a symptom that we're trying to just eliminate? And when we get down to it, and I think like especially our Gen Zs today tend to be very much dialed into their values, maybe more so than I was as a Gen Xer when I was their age. So I'm actually like, I'm really optimistic about their chances. Like, I know a lot of the deck seems to be stacked against you. My son, especially the 23-year-old, he goes so negative so quick when he talks about home prices. I'm never going to own a home. I'm never going to, Dad, what am I going to, like, a starter home in Denver, Boulder is, $700,000. Like, okay, well, I just need $150K to put down and I'm off and running. Like, what am I supposed to do? So what we have boiled down to, the basis or the foundation of the financial operating system, are 2 things: values and vision. And those are 2 terms that are oftentimes, I think, glossed over or looked at as maybe a little, hokey or a little too feel good kind of thing, but they're not. Values are yours. They couldn't be more personal. They're about you and what you most value. And the cool thing about values is they have, if they're really your values, you have really strong boundaries around them, to where like no one else gets to tell you that they're right or they're wrong or they can be better. Your values are your values. Now, your values may change. They may mature. They may get blown up at some point and you have a life change. I know I did at one point. So your values is where everything starts from. And then there's this concept, Michael, you and I have talked about this in your coaching practice, the power of the idea of alignment. And we compare and contrast alignment versus agreement, where agreement is futile. Agreement is short-lived. It's rocket fuel. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like a motivational speaker versus your true, like, deep-rooted values kind of thing. Values, if we can get aligned on values, and what are we aligning with values? Everything else in the financial operating system. So what is it that you most want in life? Your vision. That's bigger than goals. Are they aligned with your values? Are your goals aligned with your values? Is what you want to have in your financial life, the home, the car, the income, the network, whatever it may be, is that aligned with your values? Is your behavior aligned with your values? Is the way that you're being I love the methodology, and it's in our financial operating system of be, do, have.
Yeah.
Being, doing, and having. So the being is the 6 inches between our ears.
Yeah.
Is what I'm thinking, what I'm choosing to think, and what I'm choosing to believe, is that empowering, and is it in alignment with my values?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
I love that, Brent. You and I have talked about it, and the values thing is an interesting thing to me, as you know. And when I try to help people through whatever they're doing, and however they want to be, it's funny to me when I say, "What are your values?" Everybody says the same thing. Well, health, wealth, family. Those three kind of hit the top three every time, and unfortunately, that's where you don't stop, right? Because what does family really mean? What does health really mean to you? What does wealth really mean to you? And you almost have, like you said, you have to go 3 layers deeper, right? So why is family the most important thing to you? Why is wealth the most important thing to you? And then turn it into a statement of action, right? What are you going to do? How can you live to make sure that value is persisted every day? And it's an interesting thing, because I think it's Atomic Habits and all these books out there talk about the mechanics of doing something, but it's that pre-work that I think gets you in the mindset to do it a little bit. And it sounds like you do that with your program, and helping people understand not only, what you got to do, but why you're doing it.
Right. And we distinguish between what's that fast, hot burning fuel of motivation or of want, versus that slow, hot ember, crock pot, not a microwave, of values. Because look, like, you're going to leave the motivational speaker, you're going to leave the Foundation for Financial Wellness class fired up. That excitement is going to wane. So are there hot embers in there that will continue to burn? And that's, for us, values is what makes us sustainable.
Yeah. So what do you say? I mean, if there's somebody that's kind of stuck, and they, let's just take let's say 2 years out of college, and they probably got recruited to a company, and there's maybe 4 or 5 of them that were recruited at the same time, somewhat doing the same jobs, but you see some that are acting differently. What do you think is that stuck feeling? What is there a way to get around that, or when you see that in somebody, what would you advise them?
Oh God, it's that disease of comparison. And I think back to myself in my 20s, and there was a season of me there when I look back, I'm so disappointed in myself, but it was the journey I was on, it was the path I chose. I needed to choose it, and I needed to fail. And I fell flat on my face, and my life got reconstructed at the age of 33, which is another story. I was in the TED Talk. I think, what would I say to my 23-year-old self? What would I say to my 23-year-old son? What would I say to my 20-year-old daughter? And the guys that are out there, I still see them today. I turned 50 this year. And we go to like a happy hour, or a get together, or a holiday thing. And I still see them watching what car you pulled up in. Not all of them, but some of them. And they're glancing at your wrist to see what watch you got on.
Yeah.
They're looking at your shoes. You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's where you're getting to. And how do you get that to land with a young person that, hey, look, as I think it was, I'll give him credit, Dave Ramsey, that said, hey, as soon as your broke know-it-all brother-in-law is criticizing you, you know you're on the right path. And I think that applies to these guys too, right? Like, they don't have a dime in their name, but they rolled up in a leased brand new BMW or Mercedes, whatever, luxury car. And who cares?
Right.
Who cares? But how do you get that across to a young person? And like, I needed to lose it all for it to land with me. When I lost it all, I had a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old and a wife who was scared to death. And I felt so much fear and so much failure and so much shame that I had to hit rock bottom to never want to do that again. So that's a hot burning, value of mine, Michael. I don't know. How about you? I'll flip the table.
Well, you just said it. It's interesting. It's interesting where I live in Texas. I live in the Dallas area, and what you described, and I know this is going to be general, and I don't mean to insult anybody that lives there, but you just described Plano, right? Everybody's trying to drive the right car, get the right watch, have all of the things. And again, I don't apologize to if you live in Plano and that's not the way you feel. I didn't mean to, but at one point, Plano had the highest credit card debt of anywhere in the country, right? And they still may do it. I don't know if that's the case or not. And I don't live in Plano, by the way, so I'm not contributing or not contributing to that stat. But the point is that I think you opened with that word, comparison. Is the first thing you need to do is stop comparing yourself to others. I mean, Facebook, I think is the antithesis of comparing, right? It's because they never put the bad things up there, right? They rarely put the bad things up there. So it's an interesting thing. I think you're right. That comparison game is a losing game, right? There's always going to be somebody that has something that you don't have. And so what I think you're right. Go back to the values and then figure out how to get there. So if somebody were to start, you have somebody come through your program, where do you start with that? You get the values, they identify what's important to them. What's the next step?
Well, the first thing we do is triage. We stop the bleeding. Is there something critical going on right now? Is there something critical in nature? Because, what normally will bring someone in is whoever's the latest and loudest pain point is what will bring them to a class or counseling. So let's address that. And then, okay, let's put a tourniquet on that. Okay, take a deep breath. Are you willing to do this right, or are we just treating a symptom?
Yep.
And if they're willing to do this right, back in 2010 when I tripped into this, I met a lady who is truly an expert in financial wellness programming. Karen Myers is her name. She was literally a rocket scientist for NASA. She ran the employee wellness program at Johnson Space Center. And she introduced to me the behavior change theory created by Dr. James Prochaska, an MD doctor. And it's referred to as the trans-theoretical behavior change model. It's a mouthful. Really what it boils down to is he developed, okay, what I'm seeing are people have these stages of readiness. Not everyone is ready right now to make a change. Yeah. So you can't make someone ready. You can put your arm around them, right? And you can feed into them and you can meet them where they're at. And you can speed up the process of when they get ready. But when someone's ready to make a change and they really are willing to start at the foundation and change their life's trajectory of financial well-being, they're normally the number one stressor in their life. Then we go to values and vision. And if somebody really buys into that, and we also know that behavior change starts with small wins, like the quickest win that we can get to build upon, where you can see that your values is actually creating the output is more financial well-being, less financial stress, then they're willing to be like, oh, hang on a second, I might give that another swing. And then 2 becomes 3, becomes 6, becomes 10 wins in a row. And the next thing you know, we're like, you're the habit expert. We begin to change behaviors and create better habits at that point.
Absolutely. Consistency and just is most important there. So are there 2 or 3 habits that stand out in your mind that, let's start with maybe the negative. Are there 2 or 3 habits that you see people that are getting into financial struggles and stress that just pop up almost repeatedly?
Yes. And most people probably aren't going to like the first one. It's the B word. I'll warn you, it's coming. They don't have a budget.
Yep.
And there is so much, we lovingly refer to it as head trash around budgets. Because most people, there's a negative connotation around a budget, meaning like most people think they associate budgeting with constraint or not having fun, not wanting what I want. It's a form of discipline that, you know what I mean? Like, God, I'd rather just go grab, and we all have our vices, right? I'd really rather go grab a pumpkin spice latte from where than make a cup of coffee at home, as an example, or eat out instead of taking a lunch or whatever it may be. So we talk about it as like if we can think about budgeting differently, it's really cash management. If you were a business, if you treated your personal finances as you incorporated, right, domiciled in Dallas, Texas, you wouldn't run a business without a budget. You'd be out of business. You'd be bankrupt. So why is it as individuals, we think we can get around the budget where the smallest to biggest enterprises on planet Earth
Yeah.
build budgets, live by budgets for a reason. And the reason that they use them is because they work. So again, I'll reference Dave Ramsey. Telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went really works.
Yeah.
It's actually the opposite of those negative connotations. It is you being in charge. It's you being proactive. I'm the boss. I get to say where these dollars go. I don't
Yeah.
allow my emotional brain or the dopamine hit that's coming to dictate
Yeah.
what I do, what I buy, how I spend the money, et cetera.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And the budget, it's when you said that, I was thinking, it's like somebody that wants to lose weight, right? The first thing you have to address is diet, right? And your diet is a budget, so to speak, of what you're going to intake, and then you can marry that with other things. So I'm guessing there's other things you can do after the budget, right?
For sure. And the second thing I would do is say, start keeping score.
Tracking, yeah.
Zig Ziglar said it, you aim at nothing, you'll hit it every time.
Yeah.
So it would be the analogy to health, physical health and wellness. If it's weight loss or getting in shape again, right? Yeah, like it's hard to outwork a bad diet. It's also difficult to out-earn bad financial decisions.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty of that. Like I came from the world of producing, I still do, own the business. We can go out and bring on new clients, sell more. Like it is exhausting out-earning stupid decisions. Yeah. I'm here to tell you.
I love it. Yeah, that's a great analogy. Yeah, so I like that a lot. So yeah, and the budget is your grounding piece, right? So before you make another dumb decision, you have something there that can validate that.
Once the budget started to work for me, budget eventually became a value. Yeah. So I value the stewardship. There's this bigger play also that I value, the stewardship of those dollars in and out. It's a value of mine, and no one can tell me that my values are wrong, right? That's one of the beautiful things of the value. So I get to value that. And then if it roots from there, then all the decisions are so much easier to align with that value. That doesn't mean I don't live. It doesn't mean I don't go to Starbucks. It doesn't mean I don't, I budget for it. I allow myself this much fat in the budget, if you will, right? Like, and there's something freeing too. If you haven't done it, like if you go, okay, I know this much money's coming in, this much money has to go out, bare bones minimum. If you actually give the dollars that you're going to blow on fun stuff, give it a name and you place it somewhere. Yeah. There's so much freedom in not having guilt because you're like, no, I was supposed to light those dollars on fire.
Yeah. Right? You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
That's what I do a session on breaking bad habits. And the first thing I tell them to do is give that habit a name. Name it. That way you know what it is. And the reverse is what you're doing there. I love that idea because you're right. Once you make it what it is, if you, like you said, if you burn it, you burn it. But this strikes me as interesting. Yesterday I was driving here in the LA area, and I was probably only going 4 miles away, but it took an hour and a half. And I was just scanning through the radio stations, trying to find something to listen to. And what struck me as odd, because I was thinking about our conversation today, is most of the commercials that I heard were of three kinds. One is debt relief, right? There was a lot of debt relief advertisers. There was IRS troubles relief, which I guess is more legal and something. And then the others were when I hear the financial services, there's fiduciary people, there's stockbrokers, there's banks, and all that thing. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there for somebody that's kind of stuck in this financial problem. I mean, do you have any advice about all of that? Is it just tune it out and just focus on the budget, or is there something else that you would recommend?
No, that's the reality of financial services is that they peddle products or services to people who are in desperate need or people with wealth. And there is an enormous, it's not 20/20/80, it's like probably 95/5. And then all these financial products or services, it's almost like, I would say a junk drawer, but it's more like a warehouse. Like if you were to open or like if you walked in the cockpit of a 747, and if you're not a pilot and you look at that, it's overwhelming. Like, what do I do first? I don't know any of this stuff. It looks complicated. But if you understood each individual button, lever, knob, dial,
Yeah.
it in and of itself is not all that complicated normally. So again, it's almost like the comparison thing is with this, like, don't try to understand all of it at once. And if you have friends, influencers, family, neighbors, colleagues, whoever, who you hear them, the water cooler talk. That's probably not a good analogy anymore. No one under 40 knows what that is. And they're talking about their stock picks, or they're talking about this new startup that they invested in, or a private equity deal, or don't get wrapped around the axle with any of that. If you can keep it about you and the power of focus, and baby steps are still steps. So when we start with that vision, those values and vision, and then we're like, okay, so what can we start on first? And if it's harnessing your income, it's telling the money where to go. It's a cash management plan. It's knowing that, okay, I'm going to get rid of the consumer debt. I'm going to take the 401k. I am going to get at bare minimum, at least the employer match. There's these first baby steps that are so easy to do. And even though you might not be able to completely or complete them right out of the gate in one step, you're getting closer to them. So I don't mean to dismiss financial services. I'm a finance guy. I love that stuff. I'm a nerd. I love the complicated, derivatives based, all of it. I love startups. I've got a gambler personality, right? To a fault. I started a business. That's stupid. Statistically, that's dumb. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
So I would say, forget all that noise. And you can't take them. You're not supposed to be doing all of it.
Yeah.
That's not what it's for. There's only certain ones that apply to you, and the ones that apply to you now. Yeah. And what's most important to you, and do they align with that? And so we go into our be do have model when we're looking at all the financial products. And just because it's licensed or just because it's legal doesn't mean you should be doing it.
Yeah.
There might be an alternative way, right? So this is why we built all of our educational curriculum, was so that people could come in and get educated in a safe environment, not being sold. So we love to give the good and the bad and the ugly on any of it. Debt elimination, credit consolidation, credit counseling, cash accounts, 401k, any of it, mortgages, reverse mortgages, Social Security, right? Wills, trust, what's a durable power of attorney? You're like, oh my God, what is all this stuff? One at a time, one day at a time.
Well, that's exactly right, and I hear it a lot. I've got kids that it sounds like a little older than yours, but not much. And I hear the doom seeking, right? There's no way I'll ever be able to afford a house. There's no way I'll ever be able to do this and this. And I think that catastrophizing actually makes it worse, because if you step back and say, okay, what can I do today and tomorrow to get on the path to buy that house and stuff like that, I think it's a little different, because it is hard in our world today for young people to stop doing that comparison game that we talked about earlier. So I wanted to ask you, we're doing good on time, but I want to get it to this, because what I'm really fascinated about, and with Time Bandit, I'm doing some stuff with employee benefits. We're trying to help with other programs that help employers help their employees. And I know you now have an employee benefit program around the Foundation for Financial Wellness. Can you tell us a little bit about that and why it's important?
Yeah. For starters, for all the employers out there, stressed employees are expensive, period. And we have the data to support it. And the number one cause of stress for employees are finances. So financial stress is the elephant in the room. I give keynotes all around the world. I'm very fortunate to have been able to do this. And the bottom line, and sometimes the title of the talk, is the return on investment to the employer who invests in their employee financial well-being. Financially well employees are beneficial to the bottom line of the employer. And it shows up, the variables are, there's a direct correlation, by the way, in financial stress to health outcomes. And outside of salaries, health insurance coverage is the largest and most volatile of the expenses, of the employee expenses, right? The cost of an employee. So there's healthcare cost issues. There is also productivity. There's absenteeism. There's something called presenteeism. You're physically there, but your mind's somewhere else, right? Employee turnover is an enormous cost. And we can tie all of these to their financial stress. People are leaving employers to go elsewhere for like the equivalent of 50 cents or $1 more an hour in wage, right? Just because the urgency of right now, that's their version of triage. I got to get this problem fixed right now. So we said, how can we get this to more people? In the early days, we were just meeting one-on-one with folks. And then we'd get inside of maybe like a church and teach, or we get inside a union hall and teach, or a community center and teach. And then an employer asked us in once. And then you fast forward and we look up, and I'm from the Houston area again. In 2010, we got invited into Johnson Space Center to teach. And at the time we were doing financial education, not financial wellness. Meaning it was missing the behavioral science. It was education. It was good education, but it wasn't driving behavior change, science-backed behavior change. So that's what spurred us to create an offering that employers can bring us in and make us available to their employees, just like any of the other group benefits. So we can go in a couple of ways. One, we can come in as a standalone program. The employer pays us X amount. It's normally per employee per month kind of thing. And then we launch, and every employee gets their own online portal. And they come in and they take their own, it's all HIPAA compliant, it's private, confidential. They can take financial health assessments. The financial health assessment result then tells us how to best communicate with the employee so that we're speaking to them about things that are relevant and important to them. We're not trying, we're not trying to like, we're a hammer and everything's a nail. Like, one size does not fit all, obviously. And then one thing that we added about a year or two into the program, so around 2012, was in the employee wellness space, not financial wellness. They have these things called interventions, and they work. And because they're those wellness plans that are measuring these things, Karen from NASA, our infamous rocket scientist, said, Brent, the foundation needs their version of an intervention. So we created a counseling program. So anytime that employer brings us in, every employee, 100% inclusive, they're entitled to one-on-one private counseling with a certified financial wellness professional that we have vetted, trained, and they've passed a mastery level exam, and they stay current with continuing education. And everything we do is non-solicitous, meaning no one is representing a financial firm or a financial product or service. They're representing the nonprofit, the Foundation for Financial Wellness. And our goal is to drive behavior change. Like, we want to improve outcomes through behavior. So employers can bring us in. There's also, I don't know if you wanted me to go here, Michael, but in these wellness plans. So we just learned in the last 6 months that financial wellness can qualify to be embedded inside of preventative health and wellness plans that end up being no cost to the employer, and actually end up creating additional take-home pay for the employee who participates in the program, because it allows for reimbursement through the plan, which is post-tax. So I'm sure we would bore everyone to tears if we got into the complexities of the IRS structure. But just remember, this can be a net zero cost to the employer. Sometimes the employer actually has a decrease in their FICA tax obligations, and the employee has more take-home pay by participating in the financial wellness program. It's like, oh my God, that's like 3 dominoes falling in a row. Like, boom, 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 there's 3 wins. So we're very excited. We're starting to get inside of more and more organizations, like, as we speak, and which is great for us. We don't care how an employer brings us in. We just want them to bring us in so we can get in front of their people and start educating and counseling.
Well, I think it's an interesting point that you bring up, because I think there's a lot of companies that just think benefits packages, what 401k offering do we have, what health plans can we offer as options, but I think employees now are looking for more from their employer. Like you said, I think our kids today are more grounded in their values than we were when we were their age, and so these things are important to them, and a lot of them have these dreams. And just think about, if you employ a relatively young workforce and you're helping them find a path to achieve all of those goals, not just what they're doing tomorrow for the sales team or the marketing team or whatever, but their long-term goals. They're going to stay there. Retention is one thing that I think is something that employers are overlooking. They don't overlook the fact that they need to retain employees, but the way in which they can help their employees want to be there, I think, changes. So
I agree. And until very recently, the employer may have intuitively said, well, I get it. No, they're stressed about money. We give them a 401k. We give them a health insurance. We give them group life, disability, all those things. But what good's the prescription if they won't take the medicine?
Yeah.
That's really at its core. Or the old saying my grandfather would say, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And then he would say, unless you salt his oats. Yeah. And the salting the oats would be, why don't you speak to your people about what actually matters to them without trying to sell a financial product?
Yeah.
So nothing against financial products, but that was the gap that we filled when we stepped in and go, let's do something so completely different. Yeah. Let's increase 401k participation. Let's increase elective benefits because we're educating people and we're meeting them where they're at, and we're meeting one-on-one confidentially with someone who is absolutely an expert in that field and is not trying to sell them financial product or services. What a concept, right? But there hasn't been a solution until recently.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're running out of time, Brent. I've really enjoyed this. I could talk to you for another hour if we had the time.
Love it. Yeah.
I am asking all my guests one question now, and it kind of, I think you probably think about this every day. It's that the idea that tomorrow's more important than yesterday, and the grounding of that, and why I'm playing with that conversation is because it's hard to think about. We tend to dwell on yesterday, and sometimes that costs us what we're doing tomorrow. And so I just wanted to I throw that statement out there. Tomorrow's more important than yesterday. What would you say about that?
Oh my God. I mentioned it earlier. I gave a TED talk on this. I blew my life up at age 33. I was that guy with the watch, with the car, really not building wealth, but and it was such a house of cards. It was a paper tiger. And I did start over, and I was forced into getting back to my values for my second act. Right. For this, everyone loves a comeback story. And I would say, your tomorrow is more important than yesterday. And in doing so, consistency beats brilliance nearly every time. So trying to find the perfect investment, the perfect job, consistency wins nearly every time. So can you be more consistent today than we were yesterday? Can we be a baby step more consistent tomorrow than we were today? Yeah. Follow a model, pick ours, pick someone else's, build your own, pick a model, pick framework for your brain, and be a little better tomorrow at that than you were today. It works. Yeah. It works.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And why don't you, I know we've had it scrolling, but just in case, how do people find you and find your foundation?
Well, the best way to find me is my LinkedIn profile. I'm pretty active there. And then our organization, the Foundation for Financial Wellness. The address is foundationforfinancialwellness.org. It's a mouthful, but once you get it in there, it'll pre-populate again after. Yeah. And we got a lot of free resources for you as an individual. You can come in and join our community if you want to on your own. If you want to take us to your employer, make an introduction. Yeah. We can come in and do continuing education. We can do some lunch and learns. You could be the hero for bringing us in. They don't have to do work with us, but they should know that we're out here doing this. So we'd love to know any and all of you. If you want to get involved with us, reach out. Please do.
Well, thank you for joining me today. Good luck to the Colorado Buffaloes. For those of you that don't know, Brent is a big Buffaloes fan, so good luck to them. Thank you so much.
Luck right now.
Yes, exactly. Please do subscribe to your podcast so you get all of our the Habit Architect episodes. So whether it's follow, subscribe, whatever the mechanism is, if you're watching us on Spotify or Apple, we appreciate you doing that. And to everybody, have a great week, and we'll see you soon.